Alright, everyone, it's time for another episode of Atoms for the Love of Movie Picks. This time around, we're going to be talking about the 2006 film United 93. Uh, Basically, just to give you an idea, really sums up this movie. On the front of the case, it says, on September 11th, one of the darkest days in our history, 40 ordinary people sat down as strangers and stood up as one. Basically, I'm doing this video in honor of the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Today, it's the 20 years ago today that 9/11 happened. So, thought it'd be fitting I do a video or do video on a movie that has to do with 9/11. So basically, if you've never heard the story of United 93, and I don't know very few people that haven't heard of it. Basically, on the day of 9/11, four airplanes were hijacked. Two ended up going into the World Trade Center towers, one into the Pentagon, and the fourth one, which some people believe was destined for the Capitol building or the White House, ended up crashing in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And the reason behind that is it was one of the last planes to be taken over by hijackers. And by the time the hijackers had taken over this plane, the other three planes had done their job, and as people on the plane were communicating with their loved ones on the ground, basically they found out what these guys were probably planning on doing with these planes, and especially with the plane they were on. So they decided, instead of letting them do that, they were going to fight back and try and make a stand against the hijackers, and not try and get the plane back from them. So quite a powerful movie, really well done, and let's get into it, folks. So the first thing is the actors portraying the hijackers, do a good job of giving you a realistic sense of what they were doing before the hijacking and also during the hijacking. Mostly just briefly before the hijacking, like you'll see them in the hotel room. They're getting ready, prepping the knives and the stuff they need, and doing their prayers, the Islamic prayers that they do, and just generally getting ready. And and also during the hijacking as well. Very good attention to detail. It really grabs your attention and draws you in. And also the actors portraying the passengers and flight crew of United 93 do a good job as well of portraying the real people they are acting in both a look-alike sense and in their mannerisms. I'm not going to get into too much who the actors are. In fact, I'm not really going to get into it all, the names of the actors portraying these characters, because it's more about the movie and the real-life people than it is about the actors. Plus, a lot of them are actors you wouldn't recognize anyway, so it kind of defeats the point. I like the attention to detail they give in this movie, and not just with the acting, but also in the events leading up to the hijackers taking over United 93, including the hijackers of American 11, the hijacking, sorry, of American 11, United 175, and American 77. Mostly to do with, at the Boston Air Traffic Control Center, when they first noticed American 11 acting suspiciously, and then them relaying the info to the main FAA command center or communication center, and then them acting on what is happening and figuring out the next step with the Northeast Air Defense Command Center. Stuff like that. Just that kind of attention to detail. It's really well done in this movie. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is, but I mean, it feels realistic, and it feels like they've done a good job at the research and the attention to detail. I like the part of the movie where they are showing the head air traffic controllers in the Kennedy Air Tower in New York. And out the window in the distance, you can see Tower 1, the North Tower of the World Trade Center, burning and the smoke pouring out. It's a view you pretty much never saw in the news. And, also they saw the second plane, United 175, firsthand flying in low over the Hudson River just before it hits Tower 2, the South Tower. So it's kind of a very unique and, kind of awestruck view of what is going on from this air traffic control tower at the Kennedy Airport. The way the hijackers take over United 93 is vicious, violent, and quick. They start by just stabbing one passenger randomly in the neck and pretending they have a bomb by showing the passengers a fake but pretty realistic looking bomb. They then gain access to the cockpit by taking a flight attendant hostage, and they get control of the plane by stabbing the pilots. It's neat when various passengers start using earphones on the plane to contact loved ones to tell them what is going on the plane, but also some of them get information about the hijackings and what the hijackers about the other hijackings of the other planes and what the hijackers of United 93 possibly have planned for them. This movie really gives you a good insight into the confusion at all the various FAA people and all the air traffic control people and the military people faced on that day, and trying to figure out which planes had been hijacked, which ones had not, and getting military fighter jets in the air to deal with the ones that were. I mean, it really was absolute chaos, especially given they'd never faced anything like that before. It's really heartbreaking, hearing the passengers and crew, basically recreating what really happened on the plane, calling their loved ones and basically saying goodbye, and that they love them in case the worst happens. The way the passengers fight back against the hijackers is really brave. It's quite intense. They really beat the living hell out of the hijackers and fought a good fight, taking out two of the hijackers before breaking into the cockpit. The fight scenes are very realistic and believable. Like, you got to remember, this is not a Hollywood action blockbuster where guys are doing flips over 2-story buildings kind of craziness. Like it really is basically how you would imagine just everyday people. Some of them maybe with some combat training, some skills, but not really like specialized in this kind of thing. How they would fight back against somebody like a hijacker. And certain parts give you goosebumps and just send shivers up and down your spine, as well as get your adrenaline going a little bit, making you almost want to scream at the TV to cheer the passengers on and to kick the hijackers' asses as they attempted to regain control of the aircraft. They then get into the cockpit and take out the third of the 4 hijackers, but unfortunately are unable to regain control of the airplane before the pilot hijacker flies it into the ground. Most impressively, I think, is that they actually struck some fear into those hijackers with the ferocity and the determination they showed in fighting back against their oppressors. It is just sad that these heroes were unable to save themselves, but thanks to their selfless efforts, no one else on the ground that day died. Overall, it's a great film. I think that was tastefully done in a way that respects and honors the memories of all those aboard United 93 that day. And it just, if you're just looking for a movie that, when I say a feel-good movie, I mean feel-good in the sense of, what they did, it just gives you like a sense of empowerment and a good feeling that, you can rise up in the darkest moments, even being just an ordinary person. You can find the courage within to do something extraordinary. I just think that it makes for a good watch. Obviously, it takes a little bit to get going because a lot of the first, I'd say 50%, maybe 60% of the movie is just kind of relaying what's happening between the air traffic control centers and the planes and the hijackings and the early goings on of 9/11, and but once it gets going, it's like a runaway freight train. It just doesn't stop. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out United 93, not only to learn a little bit more in detail of the story of these heroic people and the selfless act that they did that day, but just for an overall great movie that's really well done. Obviously, because of some language and the violence and stuff that goes on in this movie, it's got a 14A rating. I would agree with that. Definitely don't recommend it for a younger audience. You may be able to give it 13 and up. But definitely check out United 93. You will not be disappointed. And again, this is in memory and honor of those who perished on 9/11, more specifically on United 93. It's hard to believe that's been 20 years ago that this happened. So you have yourselves a good one, folks. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.